Hello and welcome to another podcast from the Abington LaunchBox. Today we're going to be talking with some student entrepreneurs at Penn State Abington. We're going to start with Alex Filkov. He is a student and a stand-up comedian. And we're going to talk about some of the challenges and opportunities for our student entrepreneurs to take on, I think, a really dynamic world of entertainment style businesses where you not only have to be good at your craft, whether it's comedy. We're going to be talking to some musicians later, but you have a lot more on your table than just telling jokes, Alex.
A lot more.
All right. So thank you for coming by and thanks for taking the time to talk with us about some of your experiences.
Of course.
So talk to me a little bit about what are you doing right now? So you're a student. We get that, but tell me more about Alex and what you're working on as a student and starting an entrepreneurship-based business around stand-up comedy.
Okay. So aside from being a student, I'm doing stand-up comedy. I started about 9 months ago, so still in high school.
Yeah.
And I guess the whole reason behind starting comedy was I was just trying to find myself and just kind of having a better way to connect with the world, you know. And comedy just gave me a way to express myself, and by having that. This is harder than I thought.
Yeah, right. I know. For somebody that makes a living,
right,
talking, right. This is hard, right?
So, it's just hard. It's like a conversation, you know. It's intimate. But yeah. So comedy gave me a way to express myself, and it kind of gave me that passion, and it gave me that delight, you know, that I was missing.
Oh, cool.
So after starting stand up, I started doing open mics. I would do these 3-4 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
And then after doing these mics, I kind of got to network, meet new people. And after that, I got invited to some shows.
Mm-hmm.
So just recently, I did a show for Jay Yoder.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very known comedian.
Okay.
He is going on a stand-up tour.
Cool.
With all the teachers. It's called the Board Teachers Stand-Up.
Okay.
So they travel across basically the whole United States, and they sell out stadiums.
Wow.
And so I met him at a mic a few months ago, and I got to talk to him after the mic. He asked me if I wanted to host his show. He runs a local brewery, and then they do a show there.
Yeah.
So I did that show. I hosted. He said that it was pretty good.
Right.
I took that to heart, you know. I kept going. And then I asked him if if there's any more opportunities I could get, you know.
Yeah.
Because I think you got to take all the shots you can, right?
Yeah. Right. Well, and I think that's the big thing about why I felt this was an important conversation to have, is that there isn't really a tangible product to be working on. Like, you're never going to be ready.
Exactly.
And my guess is you might have some of those experiences just with jokes that you're working on.
Right.
You're like, this one isn't ready yet.
Yeah.
But if you never
100%.
put it out there, like, you're never going to be able to craft it to get to the point where it is ready unless you have the courage to put it out there.
100%. I feel like anything you do in life, you're never going to be 100% ready.
Yeah.
So it's all about just going into it with an open mindset. And if you fail, it's better to fail early, you know?
I totally agree.
Because if you fail now, then you know that you need to change something, you know? You don't want to get to a point in your career where a failure is something that's going to detrimentally, you know, impact your whole life.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So at the LaunchBox, we talk about that a lot of fail early, fail often, but fail small.
Exactly.
Right. So, you know, part of what we try to teach in some of the classes, even at Penn State Abington, is when you're starting a business, it's a hypothesis. I can make it as a coffee shop owner, as a stand-up comedian, as a musician. But oftentimes, the way you test your hypothesis is, all right, I'm going to cash in my 401k, so I'm going to take a penalty on that, but I'm going to cash in my retirement, all my future, just to see if I can make it as a coffee shop owner, a stand-up comedian. It's like, that's way too big of a gamble.
Yeah.
How can we scale your hypothesis down so that you can test it to say, what happens if I go to an open mic?
Okay.
If I fail, it hurts.
Yeah.
But you know what? I can come back next week and try again. As opposed to, I'm going to rent a bus, I'm going to book gigs at 50 locations, and then you go and fail.
Yeah.
How do you recover from that?
I think So starting small, it all goes down to that. If you do an open mic that's close to your house, not that many people, you know, you're not inviting your whole family, friends, then it gives you an opportunity to fail quick, right?
Yeah.
Besides that, no, you can do other shows. I don't think one failure determines whether or not you should stop doing something, because for the first couple of months going to these open mics, it's been hard, right?
Yeah, I can
Writing
imagine.
jokes.
I can't even. No, I couldn't imagine.
I mean, it's like, I think going up on stage is the hardest part, you know, because once you're up there, it's different, even than this conversation, right? It's different than anything you experience in your normal life, because when the spotlight hits your face, you can't see the crowd. You can't. It's like your mind goes into a different state, right? Yeah. You're in performance mode.
Yep.
And even anything that you thought of before, it's completely different, right?
Yeah. You can't replicate the stress of being in that moment. So you're practicing, which is still important.
Right.
But you can't replicate the stress of that moment.
Yeah, it's and it's not all about the stress. It's just a mix of emotions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of times you go up stressed, right? Your palms are sweating. You're kind of like, I remember this one time I was shadow boxing in the green room, and the host came in. He was like, "Dude, are you all right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I hope so." But then as you go up, you know, and as you hit the stage, every time it disappears.
Cool.
And it's weird because you feel like this is the time to be nervous, you know? But I think you can be nervous while you're in the moment. And that's the most important thing that I learned, is you can't practice everything. So when you go on stage, you should memorize what you say.
Yeah.
You should memorize how you're going to get there. But don't try to make it a script, you know?
Yeah.
Because when you're up there, you're interacting with the audience. You're talking about yourself. You're talking about how you got there. There's too many components to just memorize a script. And if you're kind of reading off of what you memorized, then you're not in the moment.
Yeah.
So I think the best comedians in the world, and that's what I try to focus on doing for myself, is having something that I want to say, but how I get there is on the table, you know?
Cool.
And if I want to change it mid-set, if somebody interrupts me and I want to address that, then I'm up for it, right?
Yeah, but is that where then the practice comes in to get you back on track? If you take that moment to divert, and maybe because someone distracts you, but you can turn that into a comedic moment.
Right.
But still you're practiced enough that when that moment is complete, you can still pick up where you left off.
That's just stage time, right? That's where it comes in, the hours that you spend going to open mics, you know? And a lot of times you're not practicing jokes. It's either talking to a crowd and getting comfortable being in the moment where it's a high stress situation, but you can still focus on the audience, on what you need to say, and not get distracted on just being there, right?
Yeah, very cool. So this whole craft that you're talking about, like, there's so much that's going into it. It's complicated. But you have other things that make it even more complicated, because we're here talking in English. You're super comfortable with this. You take on that stress of writing jokes and standing up in front of strangers in an audience. But also, I think we should tell people English is not your primary language. So talk to me a little bit about how also some of the drive and the challenge for you as a student, as a comedian, but also as someone that English is a second language. How does all that either drive you to work even harder, or also maybe help you in some of the processes because you have some different perspectives to look at your world?
Yeah, 100%. I like how you mentioned perspective. So I moved when I was about 8 from Russia to America, and I had to kind of adapt to everything, right?
Yeah.
Everything was brand new. And the perspective that I have on the world is a lot different from anyone who was born in America, right? So that just comes down to the way I view the world. It's different, and I think that helps me in both my comedy, but also my everyday life, because I can bring something to the table that the average American can't really process. And a lot of my ideas, even throughout my childhood, everything that I said was kind of understood a little differently, right?
Okay.
So I think it can be taken as an advantage, or it could be something that's negative, because you know, it can you don't always want to fit in, right?
Yeah, right.
Anytime you have something different to offer, you want to use it to your advantage, you know?
Yep.
And especially when I was younger, it was hard for me to understand that, because when you're young, everything's the same, right?
Yep.
We wear the same clothes. We try to do everything with the group.
Absolutely.
But as you grow older, you understand that the things that make you different are the things that are truly important.
Absolutely. And from an educational perspective, some of the concepts talk about discomfort, right? So the place of being uncomfortable is not a place we desire to be, but it's really where learning happens. So when you're challenged and you say, I think I know how to do a thing, and then you learn, oh, wow, there was a way easier way to do that. It comes from that moment of saying, yeah, but everything I knew was just challenged, and now I've learned something different. So being uncomfortable is a thing that we spend most of our lives trying to avoid.
Yeah.
But yet at the same time, it's one of the best places for us to grow is that area of discomfort.
Yeah, I think being in that state where you're uncomfortable, you learn the most, because unless you get there, you can't fully understand what it feels like.
Yeah.
Everything you do in life, you know, it's kind of through your perspective. And a lot of times we get confident, but without really doing something, right?
Yep.
So I think if you learn to kind of thrive in that state of discomfort, then there's not much that you can fail at, because you've already done it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the failure is just another piece of discomfort to say, I didn't aim for this.
Right.
But I'm here.
Right.
But still, I'll recover.
Exactly. And if someone tells you, like, oh, like, you failed, right? You did terrible. Then you can say, yeah, but I still did it.
Yeah.
And having that ability, that, like, clear conscience way of saying, like, yeah, I failed, but I still did it, is a lot better than having a delusion of saying, oh, I could have.
Yeah, right.
But
we won't know because you never tried.
But you never know, you know, and having failing at something and learning, like, yo, this is not for me, is a lot better than thinking, like, I could do this.
So stand-up comedy, this is for you.
I think,
or at least right now, this version of you, you're in.
I think I'm in. If you asked me 3 months ago, I was halfway in, and then, you know, 6 months, quarter in. But I don't know if I can say I'm 100% into comedy.
Yeah.
Because even though I love watching stand-up, I love performing. That's kind of what I dream about, and I would love being a professional stand-up comedian. There's so much more that I could learn. And there's so many different ways that I could branch out, whether it's film production or media or modeling. Maybe not modeling, I don't know.
I mean, who am I to judge? Like, there's definitely nothing going to happen here, so don't come to me for that advice.
Right.
But still, but that's part of also why we thought this topic would be really interesting to bring to the LaunchBox and Penn State, is because you have your moments on the stage, but I mean, what's a typical timeline you get? Do you get like 10, 12 minutes on stage? If you're lucky, you get 10.
That's pretty gracious,
right?
I mean,
so that's gracious. Like, that's a goal. Like, man, getting 10 minutes. But the other work that you do around those 10 minutes of stage time is a massive amount, because you're also now, particularly when you look into a lot of the entertainment fields, you're running social media accounts. You're doing engagement with club owners. You talked about the networking. You talked about mentoring and finding other. So part of what I think also I would love to hear about is, what are all the other skill sets that maybe you're developing, not by intent, but because you're pursuing stand-up, even if you decide, I'm done, you're going to walk out with all these other skill sets that are really valuable, like, you know, film editing and all this other stuff that we've been talking about.
I mean, that's what it all comes down to. At the end of the day, if you're doing something, if you're getting out of the house and you're meeting people, you're getting up on stage, you're fighting the nervousness, or whatever it is. I don't know.
It's all right. Nervousness. Nerves, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. When you're doing something that you're not really used to, you're learning, and that's beneficial, you know, to your whole life, because we don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow.
Nope.
We don't know what's gonna happen in the year, but if you're trying something, if you're taking a route and you're committing to it, then that's all that could you could ask of yourself, you know?
So what kinds of skills or tools are you looking to develop while you're a student? You also have access to this wealth of resources, particularly at Penn State. Are the things that either you're already using or looking to start trying to learn more to say, this is going to help me with my degree and my skills as a student, but it's also going to help me with my career trajectory after? What are some things that you're looking to build into what you're doing while you're here?
I would say definitely connections, building connections. That's, I think that is very important in whether, any field you go into.
Absolutely.
It's all about meeting people. And I think I've noticed that my time management has been a lot better.
Good. After
I started doing comedy. Because I think there's a correlation to kind of doing something that, it all comes down to like when you're building like a 5-minute set, like you said, you're spending all this time and putting it into like just your main objective, right? I don't know if this is making sense or not. But
keep going. I'll let you know when it stops or if it does, but keep going.
All right. So basically, like if you're studying for a test, right?
Yeah.
You could learn everything and you could do 1,000 practice problems, but if you know the concept, you're not going to fail a test, right? So I feel like when you're studying, you just want to have the bullet points in your mind, right?
Yeah.
And it's if your mind is a book with no chapters, then you'll be lost, right? Yeah. But if you have those bullet points, then you could always know where you're going.
Yep.
And for me, like when I write my set, when I write a joke, I have a specific word, right? Something that reminds me of where my joke is going to go, right?
Yeah.
So if I have a joke about self-awareness, then on my paper, I'm going to write self-awareness. And as soon as I see that word, it's kind of like the chorus to a song, right?
Yeah.
So if I read that word, it takes me to my joke.
Gotcha.
And I don't want to focus on the whole joke, right? Because as I get on stage, it's going to change.
Yep.
But having that word to remind me where I'm going to go is very important.
That's cool. And do you find yourself doing that even in some other areas of your life? So you're starting to mention, right? It's helping you with time management, not managing stage time, but managing like academic time and some of your other work, right?
I think managing my life even, right? Just to go as far as that, because if I know what I need to do, then I write that down, and how I'm going to get there is all up for debate, you know?
Yeah.
But if I have a specific amount of time I need to put into doing that, then I know that I'm going to do that. I don't know. I think I'm going somewhere with this. I don't know.
It's all right. So let's go somewhere with it, which is entrepreneurship, right? Is part of what we talk about with LaunchBox's innovation. And you're bringing to the table now how by practicing stand-up comedy, it's actually teaching you the things that we would want to teach you as your professors and your educators in the academic field. Some of my classes, we talk about time management. We talk about things like understanding your customers greatly. And that's part of what happened when you're writing your jokes. You're thinking about how is this going to impact different audiences. So to me, almost like entrepreneurship and the pathway you're on with stand-up comedy, that's like the lab that goes along with your classwork, right? So you're learning about time management in a management class, and then you're managing time because you're writing 5-minute sets that if you get some crowd interaction that might be really good, then that means now you've got 4 minutes to play with. And how do you now on the fly edit and adjust your set to make sure you're still finishing at the end of your actual 5 minutes that maybe didn't go in the exact same timeline order? That's the stuff that we would love for you to learn as students. The classroom just has limitations, which is we can't put you on the stage. We can't replicate all those things for all students. So that's why I'm really glad that you came in to talk about the education that's coming along with this journey that you're on. And while you might be like, man, I don't know if it made sense or if I hit the right, but I think you are. And I think that's the reason why when I met you to say, wow, we don't have enough conversations around just the benefits of doing something entrepreneurial or innovative. Because even if it doesn't become your end-all career stand-up comedian, you're going to be way better prepared for whatever pathway you choose next because of this.
Oh, 100%. Even like going into an interview, I think this has taught me that I need to get better at public speaking.
Sure.
Especially,
we all do. I do.
Right, especially like expressing my thoughts in like a one-on-one scenario, you know?
Yeah.
Because for the past 9 months, I've been going into these scenarios where I'm giving a monologue, right?
Yeah.
And I'm interacting with the crowd, but it's mostly a one-way interaction, right? So I think the even conversations, because like I mean like formal conversation, right?
Yeah.
Because when you're having a conversation with your friends, it's a lot different, right?
Yep.
You can get interrupted, you can talk, you can doze off, and then you can come right back into the conversation. But these formal conversations, like we're doing right now, it's a skill, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So I think this has taught me that you need to keep going, right? Because I think this was one of the first podcasts I've ever had. So doing something like this, like if I continue to do it, it'll probably make me a lot better.
Yeah, and I hope you do, because I know you say it's your first, and I think I believe you. I don't know why you would make that up, but I will also tell you you're really skilled at this. I mean, this has really been a fun conversation to have, and I hope valuable for people that are trying to figure out, maybe I'm not ready to do anything in the entertainment field because it's challenging. It's very stressful. It takes a lot of self-confidence to do it. But you're also laying out the value of actually having tried this. And even if it doesn't become successful, it's a success because you learned all these other skills that are going to help you in whatever's next. So I think that's a really cool thing to have.
I think, and I think I'll be clear on this one.
All right, go for it.
I think if the listeners are going to take anything away from this, it's this. I think nobody is ever ready. Even the greatest comedians, actors, or people who made it, they weren't there in the situation that they are now because they were ready. They're there because they took a chance. And even an example of me, right? I'm sitting here, I'm your guest, and I got this opportunity to be here. And I said yes, but I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
Like nobody's ever ready. But it's all about going out, taking a chance, and you never know where you'll end up.
That's cool. Well, I'm glad you ended up here.
I'm glad too.
And I'm sure there's other places that people can find you if they've been listening and they're like, wow, this is pretty cool. Alex is somebody that says a lot of cool things and they really resonate with me. Where do we find more stuff about Alex and some of the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so if you want to follow the Instagram, it's Alex F Comedy. I haven't been posting much on there. I don't have any like comedy videos. I'll definitely be posting more crowd work.
Okay.
Just got a GoPro so I can tape my sets.
Good for you.
Post crowd work.
Yep.
But I post tickets on my story.
Okay.
So if you're ever in Philly, I have shows in New Jersey too. I'll be giving out tickets sometimes.
Good.
So if you want to follow that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we're working with Alex here at the LaunchBox on is if we have a GoPro in the crowd, how do we get Alex set up with a wireless mic? And then we're going to teach him how to do some edits so that his social media has all the things that you would see from a mainstream comic that might have a team of people doing that for him. We're going to figure out a way to help Alex figure out how to handle the software, the hardware, and the posting so that he's getting more opportunities to learn and hopefully to make people laugh.
Hopefully.
I'm pretty sure you do.
I hope I do.
It would be a terrible job future for you if you were not good at making people laugh. But yeah, bad decision. I've seen some of your work. You're very good at this. And I think a lot of it is because you connect really well to people. Mm-hmm. And you're super open to share your stories, which includes your flaws, your successes, your fears. And I think that's one thing that really resonates no matter what, whether it's comedy, education, business, networking. You're human. And you let people know about that humanity. Yeah, and you don't have to be good to be relatable. I think the biggest connections that you get with people are when you show your flaws. Man, that's good. I think when you watch back at this, I hope when you watch back at this, you're going to be like, wow, that is a really good quote, because I'm thinking I got to remember that timestamp because these are quotes that are just solid, great things. I'm super appreciative of your time, your talent, your energy. And I can't wait to see what we're going to be able to learn. And as we start figuring out how do we help you carry that message when you do get your stage time and your audience interactions, how do we help you learn how to edit? You probably know how to do it. We're going to help you do it a little bit more improved so that you can be cranking out material efficiently, get the word out, so we got lots of people at your shows.
Perfect.
Cool. Thanks again, Alex. We
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Thank you.